Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter. I think I had a few technical difficulties there with the intro. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. It's all
How
good.
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good,
You're
good.
looking
Can't
very
come.
studious today. You have the
I do.
glasses
I have
on.
these
Oh,
fancy
keep them on,
glasses.
man. They make you
I
look
feel
more, more.
yes.
It
I
puts you
feel
in the focus.
smart today. I feel
Yeah, you
smarter
do.
today. Smarter today.
Absolutely.
How's things going?
Hey, I can't complain, man. I can't complain. It's Thursday.
Hmm.
Getting close to the weekend. I mean, here in Houston, 80 degrees outside. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, it's
So it's short weather. I mean, it's short weather. It makes you think about spring is coming, and what in March, right? So just in a few
yeah,
weeks, we're almost there. So,
absolutely.
but I think tomorrow is supposed to get down to the 30s, and then get back up into the 80s. So it's gonna be warm. It's gonna be
Crazy,
warm.
crazy. I just wanted to stay one way or the other.
Mhm.
This up and down is killing me.
I agree. I agree. So I'm working my inner Stephen Carter today, Mr. Carter today. I have my suit on. Typically, I'd have scrubs on and everything. It feels good, feels good to, dress up every once in a while. So,
And I decided to be a little bit more casual today. So I don't know what
mhm.
it is. We're doing something different today, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, different. So it's been a little while, Steve, right? It's been 2 weeks
It
since
has been. It has been. We were on a roll, and
we
then
were.
kind of fell off. So
Yeah, I think we did some traveling, or I think you did some traveling,
mhm.
and yeah, it's been busy. It's been busy, so I won't complain about that. But good afternoon, everyone. We even started a little bit late today, but we want to hear from you. So please, please, please hit the like button, say hello, and we'll say hello back, all that kind of good stuff, and then we'll get started with our fun topic today. Today's going to be a little bit fun, a little bit controversial, all that kind of good stuff. But hey, we got to give the people what they want. We have to tell the
Absolutely,
truth. I mean, we have to be honest and
absolutely.
transparent. We may not like it all the time, but we have to be. So, Mike, Mr. Mortgage Broker himself, our fraternity brother, says, "What's going on, brothers? What's going on, Mike? Good to have you on." We had a chance to hang out with Mike this weekend.
Yeah,
Had a
good
lot
to
of
see
fun.
you.
So good deal. Good deal.
So you guys, if you're out there, shout out to us. Let us know you're watching. Let us know where you're chiming in from. We want to hear from you. We love to shout at everyone.
Absolutely. Hey, Neith, it's good to be back. Glad to have you on board. Glad to have you here. So
Absolutely.
excellent.
Sterling, on my side, I've got Jam and J Lamont from LU is in the
Awesome.
building. He says hello. And then, of course, our favorite cousin, Cortez Carter out of Atlanta by way of Chicago, says what's up. So
The Renaissance man himself, Mr. Carter.
yeah.
That is one of our favorite guys by far. So what's
Oh,
going
sure.
on,
One other shout out. I got a shout out to my boy, LaChris Smith. He just chimed in and he's coming in. LaChris is a guy that I've known for a long time. We used to own a business together, do promotions together. And he's become a change management specialist, just a very sharp brother, very, very culturally aware, super sharp guy. I miss that dude. So shout
Good
out
deal.
to
What's
him.
going on, Chris? Good to hear from you as well. And I don't know why we can't get all the messages all on one page. It's crazy, crazy because it worked for one time and
Yeah,
hasn't worked since.
that's okay. Let's jump
Okay,
into it, Sterling.
let's jump into it. So, what? Tell us all about it, Stephen. What's our title about, and what are we talking about?
So I gotta give some inspiration. Like a shout out for the inspiration to Devonda Peterson, and really it was Devonda by way of Dr. Eric Peterson, who is a very good friend of Sterling and I. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Very sharp guy, and when he first started dating his current wife Devonda, he spoke to her about the 3 P's of manhood and how devoted he was into making sure that as her significant other and as a man in her life, that he would provide the 3 main P's of manhood. And so when she mentioned that, I'd heard it before. And so I just thought about how interesting that topic is, especially in this day and age, to say, what is really a man, right? And we just putting our men on the spot to say, are you operating like a man should? And what are the three aspects of a man? And then for our women, do you have a man at home? Is your man pulling his weight? Is he doing what he's supposed to do? We're going to break it down. We're going to break it
We're gonna
down.
break it down, and then we should have the next podcast should be about the three P's of womanhood, right, or something like that. So we can talk about that side too. And then there's so many interesting spins on that. You know, when we talk about the three P's, there's so many other things that are expected of a man. You know, are we trying to turn a man into something that he shouldn't be? It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. So, good deal. So great intro, Stephen. So just by the way, we are the Carter brothers. I'm Dr. Sterling Carter, and this is my twin brother and better half, Mr. Stephen Levi Carter. Got to include the Levi, MBA, PMP, all that kind of fun stuff. But we're glad you guys are here with us. So the three, we'll start off with just kind of going through, just naming them first, right? And then we can go into details. So number one, the first thing a man should have or should provide is protection. Number two, procreate. And then number three, provide. So protect, procreate, and provide. Those are the three primary, at least per the research and what we these articles that we read. Those are the three primary things that a man should provide in order to be a man. So, what do you thought, Steve? Before we jump into the definition,
I think it's very basic and straightforward, and I think it's simple for a reason. There's in 2022. The definition of manhood, of course, is depending on who you talk to, changes, and what a woman is looking for in a man can change from person to person. But I think that in order for you to historically and today be defined as a man, the basic structure is that you have to be able to do these three things.
So the big question is, Stephen, do you empower? Do you uphold the three P's? Do you consider yourself a true man? You know, do you provide those three P's?
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I mean, look. There's no way I'm going to get on here and say I don't.
Right.
But I don't say that just out of being, whatever. I'm confident in myself. I have no doubt that I do. I'm not saying that I'm not the best at it, but I know that I provide those three P's. So I have no doubt about my manhood, and I'm sure you would say the same, my brother.
Absolutely. We are the epitome of a man, and what a man should look like. Not being cocky, just telling the truth, being confident. I love this, so I just have to put it out here. Neath has created our next topic, the next podcast next week, the 3 F's of a woman, of womanhood: feminine, fit, and focused. I like that. We might have to bring Neath in as a guest on the topic next week. That'll be great. Okay, so going back, so let's go into a little bit more detail in regards to protect. Stephen, you want to take this one, or we can just kind of talk about
protect it? I mean, so the bottom line is that a woman wants to have a man that can protect her. And that is when we talk about kind of early on in history, of course, this was all about physical strength and about your endurance and being skilled in weapons and strategy and things of that nature, kind of thinking about kind of more on the war field and things of that nature. But it also is just simple courage. And one of the ones that Sterling and I really liked was the physical and emotional stoicism. And so and what that really is, well, Sterling, talk to that part, because I thought you articulated that very well earlier.
Yeah. So one of the things that, and it's one of the things that you could say is a gift or a curse, right? So women are much more emotional creatures than men are. And that is a wonderful strength. So it's a really, really big strength. In contrast, men are a little bit more stoic. When we approach things and situations, sometimes we look at it more from a logical, analytical side of things, and we leave emotions outside of it. When it comes to protecting and doing what you need to do in order to protect your family and your household, I think being emotionally stoic can be beneficial. As being able to make those hard decisions that need to be had. And we see it time over time throughout history where hard decisions have to be made, and you have to pull the emotions out of it in order to make sure that that you're doing doing what's the best thing for your family, for your kingdom, for your, for your community. So it was really interesting. And then the next one, ability to lay down his life for his people. And, again, not saying that men or women are not willing to lay down their life, but historically, and what we see time and time again, is that a man just has that ability that's innately in them, that they will do whatever it takes to protect their family, even to the point where if it means that they will have to lay down their life in order to protect their kids, protect their wife, they will do so. And then the last thing, the public demonstration of aptitude, what it talked about is just being able to not only be able to protect, but being able to show and prove how you can protect. Making sure that people know that you are a protector of your environment and of your family.
Yeah, and I wanted to step back, Sterling, again on the physical strength and endurance, and say that a lot of this is where the physical fitness part comes in. And I think it is very important to say that you need to physically be able to protect your wife. If you were walking down a dark alley and some guy jumped out in front of you and your spouse, your loved one, your girlfriend, she expects you to be able to handle that. And if you're not physically able to handle that, then there is a question about whether or not as a man, can you protect your loved one? And then Sterling and I are both military guys, and I think that in this day and age, I think it is important for every man to not only just be able to be physically able to protect themselves, but I think that you should have a weapon. I really do. I think that you should have a weapon that you are trained on how to use to have in your home to protect your home. So and that's just personal opinion from my perspective, but I would implore any man to make sure that they're able to do those things.
Yeah, you brought up some really, really good points, Stephen. I have to comment on those, and you're so spot on, because as we grow and as we get married and all that kind of good stuff, sometimes, unfortunately, we tend to let ourselves go. Mm-hmm. And men tend to let themselves go, and they're no longer physically fit. You're not you don't have the ability to protect your family if you're not making sure that you're healthy and you're strong, so that you can do the things that need to be done in order to protect your family. So I love that physical piece. And then, Stephen, like you were saying, in regards to being able to defend your kingdom, even with any weapon, it says skilled in weapons and strategy. I mean, the reality of it is, if we go back to the diaspora and we talk about slavery and all that kind of good stuff, there was a lot of very strong, Africans that were enslaved and that were put in slavery. And it wasn't because of how strong they were, but it was because the weapons that were used on them, they couldn't combat. So we have to understand sometimes it's not just about physical strength. You also have to be able to use skilled weapons in order to protect your household. So good stuff. I love it.
So you brought up one thing. You were spot on. You touched on a strategy thing, and it made me think about the mental strategy part too. Because right. Of course, when it comes to all of you guys have hopefully read The Art of War and some other books that are like that really talk about the strategy of war as more than just the physical part, but is also to be strategic in your thinking. And so a part of that protection as well is that you don't want to be out, you don't want the enemy to outthink you as well. So it's not just physical strength, it's mental strength as well. And it's being able to protect your own.
You're on it, Stephen. You're on it. And Abe says he feels the same way. I'm sure you do. Abe, best believe he is a protector of his family, and he has, I'm sure, multiple weapons, because he's a protector of not just his family, but of our community as a police officer. And we want to give much respect to Mr. Abe. Known him for a long time. Him and his wife went to school with him. So much deference to you, my brother. And also Drew Ragland says, good info, no military background, but he does own 2 weapons. So don't try to go over to Drew's home if you're not prepared. Just don't use them enough to be totally comfortable with them. I understand about that, and we probably all need to get to the range more often, the shooting range. But good stuff. All right, so moving on. Where is my banners here? Okay, so number 2, procreate. So this one we may get in trouble, I guess, a little bit. But honestly, when we look at even animals, right? There's a role for the male, whatever animal, and there's a role for the female. The role of the male is that he's supposed to be the one that initiates the courtship. He's usually the one that's going after the female, whatever it is, and his job is to procreate. His job is to be virile. I'm gonna say it right, virile. Having a strong sex drive, being able to satisfy his partner, and also to be able to procreate, to be able to have kids. And so the research that we also talked about, it says it uses the word fecundity, which is a really fancy big word. I was telling Stephen, I was like, oh, this article has a lot of fancy words in it. But one of the things it was saying with fecundity is that you should have the ability to be able to produce lots of children or lots of offspring if necessary. I don't know. That one's a little bit kind of, I think that what Steve and I were talking about is if you create a lot of children and you can't provide for them or you can't protect them, then that's an issue. So having any one of these and not having the others is an issue. So we have to make sure we're balanced on that. What do you think, Steve?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because men are often thought of as the more sexually, kind of more physically attracted kind of creatures, and that women don't tend to think of men in that way. They're more concerned about someone's ability to treat them fairly and treat them right. But the reality is, Sterling, you can ask any woman, and you always see the comments that someone will say, yeah, that woman knew from the moment that she saw him that she was gonna have sexual intercourse with him at some point. Like, she knew from that almost the first occasion. And I think that there is a sense of confidence that a man has to exude, but it's also, part of being attractive. Or, the rooster flares his feathers to make himself attractive to the chicken or the hen, right? But there are things that we have to do as men to make ourselves attractive to women, and there's definitely a sexual part of that. And so we do have to, as men, be able to satisfy our women. And no matter what God has blessed your body with, you can figure out and search things and ways to do the things that will make your loved one appreciate the skill sets that you have.
I love it. So I have a question for our audience. On this first one, the first point under procreate is acting as the initiator in courtship. So we're going to have a panel question and discussion. Tell us if you think the man should initiate going after the woman, or if the woman should initiate it, or does it even matter? Like, in your experience, would you date a man that didn't come after you and you had to go after him? What do you think? Tell us. We want to hear about it. We want to hear your comments and all that kind of good stuff as we go.
I saw this post on Instagram where this young lady came up and did this surprise. She got on one knee and did a surprise proposal of marriage to her man. And, it's like kind of one of these surprise things, just like a man would do for a woman. And he turned around and he saw her on her knee trying to give him a ring. And he was just like, he had this look of like, what in the hell are you doing? He was embarrassed. He was just like, no, get up. There wasn't any audio to it. But it's interesting because I think that a lot of men would probably can relate to that. I don't know that I would ever want a woman to come and, be the one to kneel down to ask me for her hand in marriage, or my hand in marriage. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think times are definitely changing, but that's really a big question too. What are the fundamentals that should always be there, and what things are we gonna see change, and those changes that are happening right now, is that going to be beneficial? You know, at the end of the day, is that going to make us a better people, better community, better families, or are we doing something that we shouldn't be doing? So
Sure.
cool. So, um, okay, so got a couple comments here. Keenan says, "My girl came after me." All right, well there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so jumping on into our last one, and we're just going to kind of go through. And Stephen, you want to take this one? Provide.
Right. So provide, and obviously this one's pretty basic, and I think a lot of us understand this to be the case. But it's the ability to be able to. We like the way that this was written. The ability to be able to tame nature, take raw materials of life, and transform them into something of value. That's just so basic. It's like it's animalistic in a way, or it's just kind of like Sterling. I watched I can't remember the name of the show, but it's like the little reality show in Alaska where it shows the guys that are the
Mm-hmm.
hunters, and they're going out, and during certain times of the season they have to go out and kill the food so that they can pack it for the wintertime so that it'll be there.
Okay.
And it's just there, it's going back to kind of like a day in the past, but it's really basic about thinking that you have to be I guess strategic about providing for your family. And if you don't do those things that are very important during the right season, you and your family will starve to death during the winter. And it just kind of makes you think about kind of the basics of being a man. But definitely it doesn't matter what your skill set is, what you're able to do. If you're going to be the best construction person, or the best barber, or the best entrepreneur, but whatever you're doing, you're taking whatever your raw skill set is, and you're transferring that into something of value. What do you think, Dr. Carter?
I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to be able to do whatever we do. We need to do the best with it, and it needs to be able to provide value. Because at the end of the day, we as men, historically, we're talking about historically and traditionally, we are supposed to provide for our families. That's innately, that's one of our things. And so, in order to provide for your family, because we're not necessarily going out and hunting as much anymore, providing now means that you have to make sure that you have a job that's going to provide the right level of income that so you can provide. That means you may have to go out and get education so that you can do that, or learn a trade. But at the end of the day, we're no longer necessarily building our own houses or building our own huts, or going out and hunting and gathering our own food. So how do we provide now? And that's just with having a great occupation, starting up a business, being in a position where you can financially take care of your family.
And I think that another part of this, Sterling, that's very well said. But when I think about provide and provision, it's the ability to bounce back despite the circumstance, right? So
Resilience. Yeah.
if you're if you're a true man, and you lose your job, and that you still have to provide for your family, and it takes a situation where you have to work 3 jobs just to make up the income from that one job, and you have to do that for a period of months or years, or whatever it takes to take care of your family. A man is going to do that. And so it means in the good times and the bad times, you pick up and push forward and provide.
That's a really, really good point. I think, that just kind of goes into just work ethic. If you want to be successful and you want to be able to provide, you have to be able to put the work in. And if you put the work in, you put the time in, eventually you're going to hone your skills. You're going to master your craft. So
Absolutely.
very, very cool. Okay, so as we go into, well, let me go to comments real quick, and then we'll go to conclusion here. Okay, so we got Sean in the building. Always good to have Sean, another one of our police officers, actually here. So good to hear from you. Different times, and some ladies don't want to wait. That's a good point. They're tired of waiting. Sometimes we take too long.
Yeah, that's true too. That's a
really good point. I can only speak for me, but I initiate the relationship between me and Farah. And I agree, Gabe. Understand it's not necessarily that everyone has to do it the way it's been traditionally done. But whatever works for you. We're not telling you one way or another. Exactly. Hey, Rob, our fraternity brother and attorney. You guys ever need to get an attorney? Rob Collier, a great guy.
Yep. Great point.
And great point. And then Festus says, men are being strategically replaced through selective social engineering processes. Probably, the more we modernize, the more we play into a system that makes men obsolete. Good discussion, and much needed. That's a really good point, Festus.
Very good point.
And that's kind of the fear, and I was talking to Stephen about this earlier, and I may touch on some things here, but innately this is what men do. We provide, we protect, we procreate. We may not communicate in the way that a woman communicates, because women are communicators. That's their strength. I remember, for every, learning in marriage counseling, for every one word that a man has, a woman has 1,000 words, right? Women spend the time and talk hours on the phone with their girlfriends and all that kind of good stuff. Men don't communicate that way. But if we're starting to change the way that the things are going to be structured, and now we want men to be communicators in the way that women, and we want women to be providers or protectors, it's everything just starts to get really confusing. And I really don't know, honestly, if that is the true nature of a man and a woman, and how we should, I don't know if we should play with that. So good stuff.
That's a really good point, Sterling. We talked about earlier about the concept of adaptation. And what has happened, unfortunately, and we can get into a lot of deep things, but because of the breaking up of families for whatever reason, there's been, in certain communities, you can see where there's been a lot of things at play that have broken up the traditional family. And you find a lot of single women now that are raising kids on their own. A lot of men that are not in a relationship, are not in that family situation where they should be. And so as humans, we adapt, right? So I think what we started to see now is that women have started to adapt into a situation of feeling as though they don't need a man, and they can do all of the things that men can do. They can protect, they can provide, maybe procreate, I don't know. But they've adapted to a mindset of thinking that they're able to do these things on their own. But it still doesn't mean that that's natural. Still doesn't mean that that's who we are and who we're supposed to be. I think that that's just something that people have adapted to do because of the circumstances that we're in. So it's definitely a deep concept.
Excellent. Good stuff. We could go on and on. I'm going to get to the conclusion. We do have a few more comments we'll highlight here real quick. And Stephen, you probably have some on your end, because we always want to make sure we honor our viewers. But just in conclusion, what we're talking about has been in every single culture for thousands of years. And even as much as we think that things are changing, still in many cultures today, it is how, when you look at the roles of a man, and you try to bring it down to three primary things: it's protect, procreate, and provide. That is the role of a man. And so the author that we read, and these articles we read, and even Steve and I talked about it, should we say that this is something that's currently happening, or what has happened in the past? And the reality of it is that despite everyone's thoughts and feelings on the way on how things should be modern and changed, innately that's what the man does. That's truly what true man does.
One last thing, Still, that I want to leave with, and I know you're going to leave a last word as well. And we definitely want to get to some of these comments, but as I mentioned earlier, about we have so many single women that are raising families by themselves, right? And so they have had to become, the person that provides and protects and things of that nature. But they're raising men, they're raising boys, and they're trying to raise these boys into men. And so I think the one challenge I'd like to leave with the females in our audience, especially the single females that are single mothers that are raising families, is that you have to make a concerted effort to make sure that you're instilling in that man the fundamental aspects of being a man. And I think these three are just maybe the tip of the iceberg. But I think that it's very important for us to make sure that our women that are raising our men, that are the next generations of men, that they're raising them as men, and that they understand the true aspects of manhood.
Great point, Stephen. Great. Well said. Well said. I'm going to jump into the last couple of comments. I don't care if I have to shovel SHIT at the zoo. I will continue to provide for my family. And that's exactly the type of attitude we should have, whatever it takes. I agree with you, Abe. If your brother wants to be successful in the marriage state, they need to learn their wife's love language. That's a good point, too. And women are communicators, so that's a good point. Martin Anthony, excellent conversation, good points and observations. Thank you, Martin. And last one, the question is why is our society rewarding behavior that it wants if we are just adapting naturally? There's much stress to many enforcing a modern definition on natural position. Keep up the good combo as well. So thanks, Festus, and thanks for the great points. We always appreciate your feedback, everyone's feedback. So, Stephen, you so eloquently ended on a great note. I'm not going to say a word except for thank you to everyone out there. We are the Carter Brothers. You can always find us on social media. You can, I think it's what is it? There's twin Carters. On Instagram and Facebook, Carter Brothers Consulting on Facebook. You can go to our website, www.thecarterbrothers.com. We do have a business consulting firm. So if you're interested and you need mentoring, coaching, you're wanting to get into, you want to grow your business to the next level, we'd love to help you with that. Or if you want to just buy our book, you can buy our book too, Double Your Success: Principles to Build a Multi-Million-Dollar Business. And we just do these podcasts to give back, but a lot of people have asked for us to be a little bit more intentional about sharing who we are and that sort of thing. So just want to share that.
Outstanding. Always good times. We hope to see you guys next week.
Yep. Okay. Y'all take care.
All right.
Oh, we got to do our outro, right?
Go out with the outro.
Oh, there comes the outro.